Hello, hello, hello. One, two, three, hello.
Hello, hello. Yes, let's finish. Mm.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Your Worship.
Hello, hello.
Um,
How are you?
okay, we will start now. If
I
you
have
are ready
Dennis
to roll.
Bristol. I have Dennis Bristol with me. He's the councillor. He's one of the councillors for Woodbrook
Mm-hmm.
area.
Yeah.
And and I also know I just spoke with June Durham, and she's also on the line.
Okay, great.
She's
Okay.
supposed to be checking into the meeting.
Okay, well, I'd like to officially start off the meeting by welcoming you, Your Worship. Thank you so much for facilitating us with this meeting because I know you have your busy schedule and we really appreciate you penciling us in. Just some ground rules for everyone. We ask that you keep your mics muted. There will be a question and answer segment. If you have something to say, you can raise your hand. That facility is at the bottom of the menu, or you can type in your question in the chat and it will be answered once we have time. If we run out of time, your questions will be emailed and a response would be provided to you subsequently. You don't have to have your cameras on if you don't want to. We would like to ask everyone to just put the street that you're in so we have an idea of geographic location within the area. Okay? So you could just put it in the chat what area of Woodbrook you're from. Right. Okay. So, Your Worship, while the residents absolutely welcome the development of Ariapita Avenue and Woodbrook with it, it has to be balanced and not to the expense of residents.
I'm ready. I don't know where Eunice thing is. Oh.
Right. Sorry about that. The culture on the avenue at present has evolved to one of a free-for-all with bars and the promoters and businesses and patrons doing what they want. And this, along with the lack of enforcement of rules and regulations and the pleas of residents being virtually ignored um, for the sake of money, has resulted in a lot of negatives in the area, an increase in criminal activity and all that. We want there to be there's been a correlation drawn between the pedestrians and the pedestrianization of the avenue and the development of Woodbrook to big cities like London and Amsterdam and New Orleans and etc. However, it must be noted that these cities and other cities like that have protocols and legislation already in place and laws which are adhered to and enforced for the strict opening and closing of bar times and the maintenance of areas. Um, the adherence with alcohol, with the purchase of alcohol and noise levels and safety concerns and all that. So with that, I would like to invite you to give us a little insight about the plans for the avenue.
All right. Good afternoon, all, and thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. And I must say I am quite honored to meet with the Woodbrook residents. I have done so on a previous occasion, and you know, one of the good things about this medium is that it allows us to be able to really communicate much better, especially in times like this. And you know,
Yes,
having
sir.
everybody,
Do this for me.
having everyone to try and
No
get
one them
to a
to hear you,
meeting.
sir.
Yes, trying to get everyone to a meeting whereby, you know, you have to come home, you have to get ready, then you have to come across to the meeting. I think this allows you to be able to function. It doesn't matter where you are. Once you're invited to the meeting and you can log on, then it makes it very easy.
One camera.
So
And,
thanks for the initiative, and I think that it's a good one. So let me just tell you a little bit, first of all, about how this whole thing came about. And as you would know, the Prime Minister made an announcement some months ago regarding the revitalization of the city of Port of Spain. What that did was throw Port of Spain into a spotlight. Now, before the Prime Minister announced the revitalization, he would have had discussions with UDCOT and Noel Lewis Broadbridge and the Mayor of Port of Spain, the Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and a couple of other ministries, including National Security and so on. And Noel Lewis Broadbridge was mandated to design or come up with a design for the revitalization of Port of Spain, together with UDCOT's input and the mayor's input and so on. So this has been happening over a couple of years, the last 2 to 3 years, of which you know what I mean. A lot of discussion went into it. So the revitalizing of the avenue really and truly was not an idea from the mayor's office, but one of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. Well, it was, you know, we have tourism separate and culture, and now it's culture and tourism, right? So it was really a mixture of the two, and it was discussed. It was brought to my attention when I realized, well, okay, I was also talking about the development of Port of Spain and some of the things that I would like to see happen as a mayor. And so the conversation started, and we went through the processes and so on, and then the Prime Minister announced it. And as I said, it put us in the spotlight. And we now had to, well, with that happening, obviously, the reporters started the questioning. So, Mayor, what are some of the, you know, anytime there was an opportunity, they would ask me, what are some of the developments that you have or that is in store for the city of Port of Spain with regard to revitalization? And I would list a number of things, like when we listed Chinatown and the Memorial Park and the different, you know, squares, and getting the parks clean and tidying the city and washing down the streets and all those sort of things, as you would have heard the Prime Minister. And then I said, and also the revitalization of Ariapita Avenue. And then the reporter would have asked me, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, you know, we want to create walkability where you pedestrianize the streets to some extent. And if you look at some of those other territories like Freeling Street and Las Vegas or Bourbon Street in New Orleans and in Las Vegas, in areas like Tampa, where you have that what's that area in Tampa where there's an avenue also, and it's also very well organized and developed. And that when in discussion, obviously it landed up in the papers next day, and then there was the concerns of residents of Woodbrook and businessmen in environs. What are we talking about? What does the mayor want to do? And that sort of thing. So it's not that, people say, well, yes, he did consult with, they wanted to know if I consulted with the Woodbrook Association or the residents and so on. So, well, first of all, I had a discussion with a reporter that asked me what are some of the plans for revitalizing. So obviously I am intermitting that there are some plans for the city. Not so much that, well, I needed to consult with the residents and then have some plans for the city and things like that. So, a lot of people think that I got ahead of myself in seeing that that I want to do this and didn't talk to this one or didn't consult with this one. So, and that is always the case. We have had many plans for the revitalization of Port of Spain, as the Prime Minister indicated, plan number 17 this is. And I was actually in 1995. Yeah, in 1995, I was part of when we were discussing Vision 2020 under Prime Minister Patrick Manning, and we spoke about, they brought city planners into the city and they talked about the revitalization of Port of Spain then, and nothing happened, as you would have realized. And now this is another Prime Minister putting it forward, and one good thing about it is that people are now more excited today than they are 20 years ago when the discussion was there. So that's the good thing about it, right? Now, when you want to revitalize an area, or you want to redevelop an area, or you want to enhance an area, it's all part of developmental, it's all part of something that you want to see better than what is currently there, right? And one of the city I was talking about is St. Pete in Florida, right? Which is St. Petersburg. They have a very successful program, just like Bourbon Street and Fielding Street and so on. Yeah, so when you look at those places and you see what is there, and as you mentioned earlier, it is really and truly a lot of those metropolitan cities have a lot of structure and have laws in place and rules and regulations, and we operate a little more ad hoc. Things happen, they just occur and they function, and then they create issues and so on. Well, a lot of those countries and cities didn't start off structured. It started off in some instances ad hoc, and regulation had to be put in place. But again, they are much more mature societies than we are. But I think we are in a position to really add value and develop our spaces. And Port of Spain and Woodbrook and St. James should really benefit from the revitalization of the capital city. So and really and truly, we can really do with some enhancements. So the question is, what is required for us to revitalize? What do we want to see? What do we feel the avenue should look like? What do you feel that should happen to Woodbrook? Now, if you listen to the Prime Minister, one of the things that he said is that we would like to bring residential or city living back to the city. We want people to be able to live in the city. If you look at the central business district now, and you look at other cities around the world, people live in the city, and there's activity going on in the city that is sometimes 24/7, but yet still people live in the city. And the Prime Minister, most noteworthy was, we want people to come back to live in the city. And so anything that we do must encourage and be respectful to people living in the city, because we want to bring them back. We currently have entertainment, business, and residential inside of the whole space, right? We want to create walkability. We want to encourage tourists, local and external. We want to, we have to also understand what our current conditions are and what's the social impact of what we currently have with regard to the business and the entertainment and the vending that goes on in the city. And how can we turn it into what you call a positive experience? And it requires you, and it requires me, and it requires the architects, and it requires the planners, all to come together to make it happen. What is the economic impetus of the Avenue and Port of Spain on the whole, and how Port of Spain and Trinidad and Tobago could benefit from it? Now, we have a number of things that happen on the Avenue at current. Some of it is great, some of it is nice, some of it is ugly, right? Some of it we could do without, and some of it we could add more to. And that is, again, should be part of the discussion. So we do have some positive things. We have, you know what I mean, or in other words, what you would call positive developments. We have bars, we have clubs, we have lounges, we have restaurants, we have cafe. We have parks, and we have squares, we have business, we have street vendors, we have residents, we have entertainment, we have cycling, we have Pan on the Avenue, we have all these different things that are happening all in one space that does lend to the character and culture of what it is. We also have strengths, we have weaknesses, we have opportunities, and we have threats. What are our strengths? Well, we have, it's an area that is full of entertainment, lots of exhibit spaces. We have restaurants, we have residents, we have a nice mix, I would say. We have local and visitor culture. We have great experiences, and it's an event arena if you think about it. So it has potential to bring meaning to our people and our culture and our society. It's close proximity to the city center, and we have guest houses. It's the space that we celebrate our carnival on an annual basis, and it's a popular night area when you think about it. And then you have weaknesses. We have uncontrollable noise. We have traffic congestion. We have safety of residents and visitors to be concerned about. We have inadequate draining, and we also have inadequate personal services to go with it. Then we have some opportunities like it's a grand entrance for this a special zone area that you could really make it a fantastic space. We have our squares that we can turn it into event venues. We could create the park and ride. It's a great opportunity to create a park and ride, which is like a shuttle service. Great opportunity and external beautification that will add to it. We also have we can display a lot of art and art forms as such, and we can do a number of things like service treatments to the roadway, create some cobblestone areas and that sort of thing. And then we also have some threats. We have some threats like flooding, crime, and so on. So we have been looking at all the different situations around the space, and so I think I've said. I'm sure there are people that would like to come in and say a couple of things, but you know, I'll leave it there for now. And if you have further questions, you can ask me.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So before this meeting, we asked residents to email us and let us know what questions they had. So I will go through some of them with you now,
Sure.
and you could give us your feedback, right? At the end of which, if we have time, we'll take some questions. So I have them grouped up a little bit.
That's all right.
Security concerns. There are insufficient CCTV cameras and remote monitoring along the avenue. With any development, there has to be an increase in security. While with COVID happening now, crime has gone down, but a different type of crime has evolved. With the bars, there were a lot of car thefts, break-ins, fights, drunken behavior, and all that. And we would like to generally see an increase in the security. There's insufficient lighting on the streets, and that could also be a security concern. The safety of both residents and patrons along the avenue have to be considered, especially if you're talking about blocking off traffic to a main artery. That will force visitors to use the side streets. And if you're a lone female and you end up getting a park a block away, that's a security concern, especially now with the current climate that we're living in.
Let me, you know, I won't be able to store all these questions in my head.
Okay.
But let me answer a few, right? First of all, recently we met with TIATEC and we decided that, well, okay, before saying that we met with TIATEC, the Office of the Prime Minister has put together a team which includes the Mayor of Port of Spain, and the team really and truly is the Ministry of Planning. It involves also Town and Country. It involves Ministry of Public Utilities, which is TIATEC and TSTT, and well, not TSTT so much, but more TIATEC. It involves the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. It involves the national security, so police is involved, our local police is involved, and what we are trying to do basically is to find ways to bypass all the bureaucracy, and also to open up the discussion whereby we can determine what needs to be done and then tackle it one by one, which is what we call the low-hanging fruit, right? The UDCOT is going to look after the building of these spaces that they spoke about. And one is, and I'm talking about Woodbrook Care in particular, is where the current power station is. That has to be dismantled, and it is going to be turned into a residential commercial parking complex that is earmarked for that space. And they have not shown the plans as yet, but I was privy to be able to see something in a sketch form some time ago. But I know that's what they're looking at, and they also wanted me to make sure that Victoria Square was in good shape. And one of the things that we started to do in December was to ensure that all the parks and squares were lit properly and continue to be lit. They also ensured that I washed down all the streets in the central business area. And also one of the other areas that we are talking about seriously and more vociferously is the homeless population. And we've had a couple of meetings well with the Ministry of Social Development to be able to bring some form of resolution to the homeless. We are looking at a building or a space in particular where we may be able to house the homeless and really give them a sense of opportunity for assessment and that sort of thing, right? To take them off the street. the parks and squares of interest right now in terms of lighting and the CCTV cameras that you talked about is also part of the revitalization process. And if you identify for me where some of the areas that you'd like to see additional street lighting, and I would definitely bring it to TNTX attention, because we have a conversation going on right now. And I know that once the areas are lit better, it would add to the safety environment for our women and our young people who at times find themselves in a situation that is not of their own doing, and that we want to try and eliminate and reduce that as best as possible. The nice thing about the revitalization is that Port of Spain suffered, or all the municipalities suffered from a lack of policing some time ago, because we really only had we had a cadre of 120 officers for the whole of the city, and out of the 120 officers, we probably were down to about 60 officers that were actually functioning. Some were on suspension, some were on sick leave, some were on disability, some were on whatever, I can't remember, some of them on some kind of something else. However, we have enhanced the police cadre of local government. We are in the process of getting them housed in a building, as is with cabinet now, so that they will have their own headquarters, which is the community police, or what we would call the municipal police, where they're also trained in the hard touch and the soft touch. The thing about it is that we have asked our young police officers to be on the street more often, to be aware of the environment, and to really step up the idea of safety for our citizens. So that is part of the Avenue prospect. We haven't really ruled out anything yet, but we have spoken to them that it is going to be part of the revitalization, where their involvement is going to be very much needed.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. You mentioned in one of your interviews about the introduction of plants along the avenue to increase the greenery, which everybody loves. But the question is, a lot of it, the few instances we have of it along the avenue, they are not maintained, and they are a security risk and give a cozy hiding space for people. So will lighting be introduced there as well, if you go ahead with the planters?
Yeah, well, the planters are really and truly, you want to, one of the things that we want to do with the planters, really and truly, we want your input on that tremendously, because we want to be able to know where we will probably work on some designs. We have some ideas, and we're gonna, I'm glad that I have this opportunity to be able to maybe present it to you all, so that we can say, well, okay, let us go with this, let us do that. Because again, if you want to create walkability, the space has to be attractive. And we agree, we have not, as a corporation, maintained our spaces very well in the past. Well, we have to step up. Business can't be as usual anymore, and we have to change the dynamic, because it is necessary to do so.
Okay. Regarding the blocking off of the avenue, what is the traffic plan? We have a comment, we have a statement from a resident living in north-south of Woodbrook. She says, "We, the residents of north-south streets in Woodbrook, are concerned. The mayor said he would be encouraging motorists to use these streets. But we, the residents of Colville Street, are wondering about how the increase in traffic will affect us. We are already subjected to so much noise and traffic that we really cannot take anymore. There are elderly, and sick people who live on Colville Street. And it really is unfair to have us endure more traffic. There may not be a large number of residents there, but there are significant. But they are significant, and we have, sorry about that. There may not be a large number of residents there, but they are significant, and we need to have a measure of comfort. We sincerely hope that the mayor understands our position. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And
That's pretty
give us
close.
some sort of consideration.
Yes.
So, is there a plan for the parking, the excess cars? Should the avenue be blocked off?
All right. So when we talk about when you looked at how the other cities worked out their parking in the times that they want to pedestrianize the space. What they have done is they've created car park spaces, and they've also created what you call a park and ride. So if you have car park and you have park and ride, it doesn't really enhance the traffic. Although because you see what it does actually is that if it allows residents to move up and down on their street, right? And because if you turn around and say, look, I'm going to block off the avenue, and then a resident they will want to know, well, how do I get to my home? So you have to open the north-south streets to be able to allow people to get to their homes. So that would be the first priority. The second priority would be you would hope that it doesn't bring about that much more traffic, because if you have park and ride and you're parking outside of the space, you really and truly want to encourage people to park a ways and then use the facility that will run up and down the street, if that is the case, or if you have the park and ride, you can use the park and ride on the North Street. So we haven't really planned that out yet. I have asked traffic management to help me with a plan, and they are looking into it at this time. So I really don't have an answer for you about it. But we want to be able to do something and do something well. We want to be able to do it so that we will all enjoy it and not have to, I wish at the end of it that we have no complainers, right? And everybody's happy. Will that happen? I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, we have to start somewhere. And if we start it and we realize something is not working, then we can always change it, because change is constant, and it gives us an opportunity to learn from our mistakes. Nothing is going to be cast in stone, because we're going to be trying things out until we get better at it. We have some ideas, and if the residents are again game on it, then why not? The thing about it too is that if you turn, and this is why we were talking about the pedestrianizing aspect of it, will not first of all start in the whole street. All right, it will probably start in a particular zone of the street, and then we can have it done like Friday night or what you would call over the weekend, so that it enhances the entertainment and it enhances the space, and like how some of those other cities have done it. So really and truly, you want to be able to bring about a positive change and not a negative change.
Right.
We don't want to vex people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we want the residents. So first and foremost, the residents are the most important valued asset of the whole transaction, right?
Mm. But okay, as you spoke about not having a plan yet with parking and all that, this leads to another question somebody submitted. We have the experience of what happens along the avenue during Pan on the Avenue. That is just one day. And that
Right.
traffic filters on to the side streets and even Warren Street and Robert Street. So we have an example of what could possibly happen, as well as during carnival time. the moving of the barriers from Ryson Road to the avenue is not replaced in a timely manner. Sometimes 2 weeks after, it's still
Yeah.
in the wrong position. And considering that we have a history of not starting everything but not following through with it, what guarantees can you give that when things are implemented, that the residents would not be getting the short end of the stick and things will be done and done properly?
Well, look at it this way. When Pan on the Avenue existed, everything was planned, everything was dealt with around Pan being on the avenue and not about what happens otherwise, right? And it's very similar to when there's cricket in the oval. It's about cricket in the oval and not about what happens around it. When you're planning something for a long term or medium term, or really and truly it's long term, and you want something to work, you're going to take all the different aspects into consideration. Now, that's why when I asked for traffic management to give me, to help me out here, it's really because I don't want to go it alone. I want all the agencies involved. And the presentation is going to be made to all the various agencies, like, as I said, planning, local government, tourism and culture, because we want to be able to do this right. The revitalization of Port of Spain is not at all, or should not be from what you would call an ad hoc perspective. Everything will be long-term in nature, and it's really to bring about positive change for the citizen and the space that the citizen uses.
Okay, another concern raised is the cleanliness of the area. As it is with the bars, we have a lot of dumping of garbage. It's not cleaned up in a timely manner. It's clogging up the drains, which leads to another problem, flooding. We have yesterday, with the constant drizzle that we had all day, there was flooding by Kappa drugs. So shouldn't issues like that be sorted out before you do any development on the avenue? Because the flooding, when we have exceptional rainfall, affects the avenue as well. So are these underlining issues that exist going to be rectified before development goes on the avenue?
All right. If you try to fix everything before you do anything, you'll get nothing done. You'll just fix everything maybe and not achieve anything out of it. If
But
you look at how organizations plan and how things happen, the city is a living organism, right? And it changes every day. And you know that not everything is going to be fixed, right? In the timely manner in which it happens. But at the end of the day, you want everything to be fixed, right? And at the end, and in wanting everything to be fixed, the residents has to be more diligent in that regard. The bar owners, the storekeepers, everybody has to be alert to what is going on. And local government must also deliver, right?
Okay.
We have not delivered well over the years, and we know that because we have been in what you call complacency mode. We have been operating in a laissez-faire perspective, and we are trying to change all of that also, right? The COVID-19 presented a lot of changes for the corporation, and if we had the money to do it, we would have made those changes very effectively at this time. The difference is it comes at a time when we are now subject to change to some extent, and yet still, but we don't have the economic factor to change. But the mindset, if we get the mindset changing and we start thinking in a way in which we can all help each other to develop the area and to develop the as I said, all the different things that we have. We could grow it and develop it together, and that's part of what you all are here for.
Right, we completely agree. But the thing is, some of the issues that we are talking about, like the flooding and the strain on the utilities like water and the sewer lines, which I'm sure you'll be aware, there's always an issue with the sewer lines collapsing. These are fundamental issues. It's the foundation. And if you don't, you can't make things pretty when you have a foundation that has cracks. It's basically putting lipstick on a pig. And to go ahead and beautify the avenue to bring it to make it into a tourist spot without dealing with the issues that currently exist is just going to make the issues that currently exist worse. And residents, I think, have been diligent in pointing out the different problems, but unfortunately, they have not been dealt with. I just want to move on. I We have some questions from residents. What are the requirements for businesses? We as residents go through very tough processes with the city corporation for leases and building permits. Yet renovations by these businesses go untouched and unskewed. What do you have to say about that?
The first of all, if the police will tell you that they they can catch someone who commits a crime, but they can't always prevent a crime. The Port of Spain Corporation has idiosyncrasies also, but it also has uh, opportunities where they have worked diligently to get things done. The people who put up some of these structures are citizens of ours, and they know exactly what corners they cut.
Mhm.
And the corners have compromised the system because of their expediency, and I have met that in a system that I can't fire nobody, I can't investigate nobody, I can't get rid of anybody, and so on, whether I know it or not. So, and that system is created not by me, but by lots of people before me. All right. So, for me to try and change that, then I will need to be in the seat of mayor for the next 25 years.
But I think it comes back to a case of law enforcement because we have laws in place, but they're not being enforced. And you're saying that you're aware
That
that,
is all over the country, ma'am.
well, yes, but it has to start doing the right thing. I think has to start.
Well, the commissioner of police is trying his best to deal with it. Now, remember something, there's some things that are not under my remit. I don't control WASA. I don't control traffic management. I don't control the building inspectors. I don't control the engineers. We're trying to get rid of an engineer for the last 4 years, right? Because council presented no confidence in the engineer, and the whole system is taking years before we could get any discipline out of it, right? I have met a broken system, and I am trying to, in spite of a broken system, I am trying to add value.
Okay.
I could sit down and say, look, you know what, whatever happens, happens, but I'm not that natured. I still feel that I will try my best to get up and do something. And that's why when you would have heard me mention what some of the things that we talked about with regard to revitalization, I am really working on what's called the low-hanging fruit. I know that WASA is a mess. I know that I can get TNTech to help. I know that I can develop, I can keep talking to our security services, but at the same time, we also need your input. And so that and what you do and what I do helps all of us.
Right. Okay. We have some suggestions, the things that could go in place that will be beneficial to us all. Because at the end of the day, we live here and we want to see the improvements happen in the area. As you know, we have issues with the bars and the noise, and residents not being able to sleep. We've had a resident who was so bothered by the noise that she wasn't able to sleep in her bedroom. She was using her living room to sleep in. We would like to suggest if you could assist us in implementing a change in the closing time of the bars, because the any day, anytime law is not benefiting anybody. You have an increase of crime, is stressing out, is putting a lot of pressure on the security services, as well as it's hindering residents' ability to enjoy their property and sleep, especially on the weekend. We would like to we're suggesting a ban on external speakers. If you're going to have a bar, restaurant, have it inside. Again, controlling the noise.
Music does not have to be loud for people to enjoy it.
We agree, but
As a matter of fact, we have seen around all those cities that I have visited, music was never at a pitch where it is unbearable. And I think we really need to manage our bar owners and call them to be a good corporate citizen.
and we would love your assistance in getting that message out, because we see that it's a massive problem that needs to be corrected.
One of the other problems we have, our public health inspectors don't work after 4. They are 8 to 4 workers. And I wish that could change. Our little wardens work 8 to 4. And we hope that our police don't work 8 to 4. But I think they are different. And their mandate is a little bit different. But things like that, those are some of the issues we have. When they should be out there working. You see it in Miami, when you go South Miami, police officers are always outside there, health workers, all that sort of thing, Maybe we have to change that mindset in the public servant.
Could you tell us exactly how with the pedestrianization of the avenue, how exactly the residents would benefit from that?
Well, you will create walkability. And if you create walkability, then you'll have less vehicle noise, you'll have less congestion. You can create entertainment, which is live entertainment on the avenue. People, as a matter of fact, you can bring your, you can bring, like when you travel abroad, you have the business places come out onto the pavement or that sort of thing. And when you see a lot of people walking on the street, it creates that nice festive feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's putting structure to a space that you really want to develop nicely, and not be a space that is developed in a ad hoc manner, and you continue to have problems and complain about the noise and the different things that are happening.
Right. Okay. We have a question from Monica. Monica, you could go ahead and unmute, and you could ask a question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, before COVID, on a night when the people, the revelers are finished with the avenue, they come down the streets to their cars and continue where they left off. You know that park and ride will not work. Trinidadians like their cars parked near to where they are. So what I'm saying is, that is unsatisfactory. You all have to do better than that. There is a Woodbrook overload, right? We have carnival, we have band launch, we have just too much happening. You're talking about the city. The city is not Woodbrook alone. You can go to St. Clair, they have restaurants there, they have big, nice, wide streets, they have lovely paved avenues. Why can't you extend it further? Please answer me.
Monica, what would you like to see?
I would like to, I find...
Tell me what would you like to see in Woodbrook?
I would like it to remain as it is.
I thought so.
Because we have from January to whenever carnival is, we have band launch number 1, band launch number 2, band launch number 3. Then carnival time, it is blocked. From Friday, the road is blocked if you have to go to church or anywhere like that, you have to make a whole big roundabout to get to your house, right? I don't mind something happening once a month in the square or somewhere, but it cannot be that we are inconvenienced while you go home to your house in Marval and is happy, right? We cannot take this on a permanent basis. This is what I'm saying. We don't mind it once a month or something like that, but it cannot be a permanent fixture on the avenue. That is what I'm saying. Extend it to St. Clair, extend it to Marval. Why own, what is this love affair with Woodbrook?
So you suggest I move it somewhere else?
Yes, we have enough. We have enough. We have the carnival, then we have the things in Adam Smith Square. So we have enough.
So should I just scrap the plans and don't produce anything for you all? Is that what you're really asking me to do?
Yes.
So should I forget about it and move on?
Okay.
I have a suggestion.
Oh, okay. We have
raise things. So right. I'm gonna move away from that. Mr. Mayor, I would personally like to see a difference of what we have in the area. We have a plethora of bars in the area. It's just too much of one thing. If you're looking at pedestrianizing, we can look at introducing and encouraging a craft market, artisans on a weekend on that sidewalk, encouraging restaurants to have that same sidewalk cafe feel that you're talking about, breakfast bars, lounges, art galleries, you know, regulated and selected, you know, street food vendors. Because of course you're talking about health and safety. And if you're looking at from the tourism aspect of people coming in and encouraging when we do open up, because we're going to have to open up the country at some point in time, you want them to feel safe coming in, and they're not going to leave their country where they have what we have at present to come to the same thing. You want to offer them something different. So if they come out on, let's say, a Friday night or Saturday night, they should be able to see the local crafts persons, be able to purchase things on a Friday. It's very, very similar to those metropolis countries that you were talking about before, because when you walk down some of those streets, that's what you get. You can pop into an art gallery here. There's somebody with their craft work, whether it's silver jewelry or leather work or whatever. I mean, it's all going to be localized, not just gyros and bars.
Well, you know, what you have now is what you have now. And the bars and businesses that open there is what turned up and opened, and they have functioned there for some time, and we did nothing about it. It happened organically, and Woodbrook, Ariapita Avenue is a commercial street if you think about it, right? And it's a space that changed hands from the people who were there before, and they sold or rented their property to people who are now there, right? Just like some people who have houses in Woodbrook, what they have done is they have sold their house to some business and they have rented their house to some business. So the mayor didn't really, or the council didn't create that. It is people who have property that created that from the same Woodbrook area. So just to tell you, just hold on. What we have done is we have recognized that, right? And I know that some time ago, they tried to regulate Woodbrook from a former mayor and a former prime minister. And I think they attempted a little too late because it was already heading in a direction. So what I'm saying is that I have encountered what is there. So I said, well, let us try now and maybe enhance it so it will work better, so that the space, because the space is already developed in a particular way, and there is a lot of, as you see, people down there that are utilizing the avenue. Some of it is good, some of it is not so good, and you want to be able to bring some kind of sanity to the not so good, and you want to be able to turn the place into something that is beautiful and enjoyable. So that's where the whole thought of it is. And as I said, don't knock me alone, because it's not me alone that brought up this idea of revitalizing Woodbrook or revitalizing the avenue. The government chose some spaces that they thought needed development, and this was done through studies of years of study, and they have recognized that some of the areas that need the attention is, as I said, St. James is one, Woodbrook is one. So they've done that. Downtown Port of Spain is one, you know. And I want to say something about, just take for instance, Chinatown that was done on Charlotte Street. The business community on Charlotte Street, some of them want it to happen, some of them didn't want it to happen. The ones that don't want it to happen are very vociferous in not wanting it to happen. And those who want it to happen are very quiet about wanting it to happen. The thing about it is that the objective of, if you went down Charlotte Street any point in time, you will see that Charlotte Street is a mess. So adding something to Charlotte Street is, you say, okay, let us cobblestone the road, let us pedestrianize it, let us create activity, let us add some dynamic to it. But you know what? There are people who don't want it, because you know what? Where am I park my car? So that is what happens. Everybody is so selfish about what they want, right? People, as you say, everybody, Ms. Monica Bradshaw said that people don't like to walk. Well, they have to, well, let them learn to walk now, because we live in a Caribbean country. We have developed bad habits in people. Let's help them to change the habits, right? That's the only way we will change. We have to give them an opportunity to change, but you have to give them something that will, that you expect that will work. People will not go for worse, they will always go for better.
That is, we agree. Please don't get the impression that we are against you or your office.
No. I wasn't
We
saying
want
that you're
to work
against me.
with-
I'm just saying some people are like that. And there are people who don't see the future. Some people, but most people want things to stay the way they are, right? That's because people don't like change. But change is inevitable. And if you don't do anything, you know, as what Dr. Rowley said something one day, if you have a problem and you do nothing about it, it just becomes a bigger problem. So what we're trying to do is, he spoke about revitalizing the city of Port of Spain. The city of Port of Spain is the whole city. He spoke about the Memorial Plaza. We spoke about Piccadilly Street. We spoke about Charlotte Street. We talked about beautification of Broadway. We talked about the East, well, yeah, the East Port of Spain area. We talk about Uptown Port of Spain. We talk about Central Port of Spain, which is the Woodbrook area, and then the St. James area, and so on, that need uplifting. If you look at it good, you'll realize that it needs it. But it also needs that the corporation needs to do their work too. We have, as I said, we have not managed this thing well over the years. And what we want to do is, in the revitalization, it will help, hopefully, give us an opportunity to change our mindset too.
Okay, you said earlier, a little while ago, about residents selling their properties or renting their properties out to business. Yes, that is not right, but you have, as long as it's a residential lot, but you have some businesses that have been operating for years on residential lots, and that hasn't been changed. And I don't think it is fair to put the problem on residents who have for years been trying to get, who have been trying for years to get things done. It's not like we've sat down and not said anything. We have been trying. We have been trying to give positive feedback, but we haven't been getting it in return from the corporation and from the office, not you in particular. But anyhow, let's have a question from Baden-Powell Street. You can speak.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I don't want you to take or hear that anybody in Woodbrook is against what you are proposing, what the prime minister is proposing, or any change that is going to come to the community. No one is that. It's just about balance, because change is something that is going to happen one way or another.
Yeah.
Okay, but there needs to be balance. But there needs to be balance.
And I agree with you.
And the thing about it is, when you think about the numerous bars on Ariapita Avenue, let's just focus on Ariapita Avenue. Business owner, homeowners or business owners can sell and make let to whomever and let them do whatever they want. The challenge is somebody needs to regulate the number of bars that are being given licenses to open on the avenue in such close proximity to other. That's not, that is a government area to address. It mightn't be under your purview, but it is not under the person who's renting the space. So there needs to be an adjustment in that particular area. That's number one. Can we agree on that?
You know, we have been bad there. We should have, and you know what? I am now trying to change that in the corporation so that we could get back to some kind of sanity here.
You know what it is? I think that what we're all hearing, and again, it's not you, we're hearing a lot of excuses, a lot of this should happen, this was done by this person, that was done by this administration. But the reality of it is, we are the ones that are living with it. A lot of people who are making these decisions do not live in Woodbrook. They're not subjected to the noise. The people who are enjoying the avenue don't live on the avenue or in Woodbrook. They're not the ones that have to clean up the front of their homes, their lawns in the morning. People are urinating and doing other things in front of their homes, can't get to their driveways, can't park their cars, can't even get to their driveways because people are double parked. These are the things that we're not hearing being addressed. Forget about the police situation in terms of responses to crime and things in the area. That's a whole nother topic. But we need action on these small things. The last thing I'm going to say, when you talked about the infrastructure that needs to be done and that you want to do part 2 before part 1, it don't work. From somebody who's in the construction industry, if you build on a broken infrastructure, you're spending good money behind bad money, because now it's going to cost you even more to repair the problem. We're open to change, but we need to be part of the conversation, not on after the decision has been made, but while the decision is being made, because it affects us just as much as it affects the rest of the country.
Okay, Ali, you could unmute and ask your question.
Hi, good evening. Okay, what I really don't understand about all of this is it's a simple thing. If you're going to fix the avenue, as you put it, in order to welcome people, etc., etc., let's just pretend that the avenue is our home, okay? Like where you're sitting now is your home. When you invite people into your home, there are basic things that you need to do before you actually expect to greet them at the door. One of them would be, sorry, am I interfering with your other business?
No, what happens, my phone was constantly ringing. And,
turn it off, turn it off. The thing is, you don't let people into your home when your floor is covered in dirt, you have rubbish piling up everywhere, your toilets haven't been cleaned, etc. You prepare your home first. And that is the basic infrastructure of the city that we're not dealing with here. The city stinks, it is filthy, any day you walk down the streets. And the basic things that the corporation should be spending money on, such as cleaning the streets so that when it rains, you're not slipping in all the human grease that has been left on the pavements by the street dwellers. This is a reality, and the smells and so on. Clean our house first and then think about how you can attract people to it. Because I'll tell you now, I take people, visitors around the city all the time. It's what I did for a living before they closed the airport. One of the main questions I'm always asked by people is whether or not Trinidadians are not proud of their country, because they cannot understand why there is so much dirt and it is never dealt with. I get that asked all the time. Why don't you all clean it up? It's such a beautiful country, but it's so dirty. So if you're going to go and spend money on the avenue, spend money first to clean up the place and make it presentable, and then consult with the residents about what could be done, instead of just constant thing where people just come at you with, this is what we're going to do, and we're not going to consult you. We have to live here. So please put some thought into it and start at the beginning rather than blaming everybody who's gone before. We know what's gone before, but we have to stop playing the blame game and just get on. If you want to do something different, start from the beginning, clean up the place, make it look like something that anybody actually wants to come to. Can you do that for us, please?
Could I just say something to you, ma'am? The city corporation cleans the place, by the way. And we clean it all the time. And the garbage is picked up in front of your house very often. The problem is, after they clean, people that are called Trinidadians drop the rubbish all over after you clean the street. The city corporation don't dirty the streets. We clean it. And we have been cleaning it every single day. It's just us, the Trinidadian, that still stink. Hasn't changed our mindset yet. So we're working on it. It's also a work in progress.
Okay.
Yes, but hold on, sorry. Can I just come back at you with that? Number one, in the last 12 years, the corporation has picked up the rubbish from my street twice. I have to walk my rubbish round the corner for it to be picked up because they do not come down the street because of the illegal parking that stops the truck coming down. This has been reported over and over and nothing is done about it. And not only that, it is not about whether the residents pick up and drop down again. Maybe the residents have no choice because the rubbish is not picked up properly and regularly. CPEP cleans, bags up, and the bags are left there and nobody picks them up. And that does not negate the fact that at the end of the day, the place stinks. When you were a child, tell me something, when you were a child, they used to wash down the streets in Port of Spain? Because they did when I was a child. It hasn't been done for probably 30 odd years.
Okay, we have another, one of the another suggestions submitted was to introduce solar lighting along the avenue. Is there a possibility of that happening? Or could that be put into the plans?
That can be discussed, yes, because the TNTech is looking at solar as an alternative lighting. In some instances, it is expensive for the infrastructure that is already there, but they are looking at any new lighting. First of all, any new lighting would be LED, and then they're also looking at the solar element.
Okay, and for the pedestrianization again, would it be possible for residents to get preferential parking or parking designated parking?
Could you explain a little more? When you say resident preferential, in what way?
Well, when the avenue is blocked off and the side streets, do you want to have maybe some sort of sticker or something that identifies them as a resident? So if they did park on a side street, they will not get towed, for instance. Or
well, if you are, you know, I mean, anything like that can be discussed, and I'm sure we will want to find a way to be able to make some kind of accommodation, especially for residents.
right. Do you have any other questions from the audience?
All right. So while you're waiting let me ask the question. What are some of the streets that you have a difficulty with regarding blockage, where the garbage truck is unable to go down?
Well, I know
Right?
for sure.
Because this Ali was indicating that in her street. So I don't know if I don't know what streets there are that you may be encountering that.
I think it's a problem that exists predominantly on the south of the avenue, in particular one-way streets, where
Uh-huh.
there's double parking, and once that happens, the trucks cannot turn. I know that on Gallows Street, between the avenue and Warren Street, when the churches have the service,
Warren Street. Okay, right. Uh-huh.
trucks also cannot pass. If there's a street I missed out, people please put it in the chats below, and I will call it out.
You know, yeah, one of the things that we could do is like little things like that. Let's start, as you say, as if you know, your residents have made some good points, and some of it I tremendously welcome. And as you say, if you want to see change, let's start making the changes that we can make today, and let's start talking about, as you say, the ones that if you want the streets, if you want us to ensure that the streets are always clean, then we will look at what the current measure is, and if there is need for additional cleaning to take place,
Right.
and then or what else is required. Now we do wash down streets, and we have been doing that, but mostly in the central business area. We have been doing it every night, every single night for the last almost a year. We have been actually washing down the streets of Port of Spain. You don't see it all the time because it's, as I say, when it's done washed, the truck is gone, the people are gone, and then the homeless person comes and defecates on the same street that we wash. And that is really unfortunate. But I mean, that's life, and we have to deal with it, and we have to find a way to solve that. But the resident that says that, listen, we have congestion on our street because, and it's affecting the garbage from picking up, then that's something I think that we can deal with immediate effect.
Okay. Alberto, definitely.
Yeah. Just give me the streets and the part of the street that it becomes perennial, and we'll find out. We have two councillors in the area. One is Dennis Bristol, and the other one is June Durham. And they should have been on top of things like that. But you know, not everybody knows everything. So what we will do is, if we hear from you, and the nice thing about it is that it creates additional dialogue here, right? You know because you live in Woodbrook, you know exactly what some of the negatives are, and if I can help you to solve some of those things, by all means.
Okay, we have like two streets, Lewis Street, Gallows Street, Alberto Street, that has a double parking and has issues with garbage collection. But I will make sure and collect all the information and send it to both councillors so it could reach you.
Or you can write the mayor directly, and I will address it. Once you write me, I tend to, once the document gets in front of me, I tend to action it for council, and usually look forward to some form of resolution.
That is great to hear. We have a suggestion regarding the bars. Could we put for a bottle-free avenue? Because we have instances where patrons, when they've had too much alcohol, and even people who are living on the street, like to pelt the bottles. So it leaves the street looking all nice and sparkly with broken bottles.
I actually like that.
Really like assistance in getting.
I would agree with you 100,000%.
Especially at carnival time. Okay, we have a question from Michael Hadid. You could unmute and ask a question.
No, are you hearing me?
Yes.
I was wondering, we have the entire city and the Brian Lara Promenade. Seems to me to be the perfect venue for this entire upgrading. Why does it have to come on the avenue? Hasn't the Brian Lara Promenade enough facility? The length, the width, the benches, the trees, everything is on the Brian Lara Promenade. Why the avenue? And I would like to mention too, the Honorable Mayor has a solution to all the probable problems that could arise. And that's in theory. We know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And at the end of the day, much is said and little is done. Could you tell me why the Brian Lara Promenade is not the central focus of this entire exercise?
First of all, Mr. Hadid, much is said and little is done. That's a fact. And we have grown. If you listen to the Prime Minister, he said this is plan number 17. And that is because much was said and little was done. We are poor executioners. We execute poorly. We talk, and we get nothing done. That's what we do. And that's why plan number 17, we had 5 drainage plans in the city of Port of Spain. I looked into all of them when I came in as a mayor. I saw practically the same thing that the first plan and the 5th plan said, just a little bit of variation. I looked at plan number 1 to plan number 17 for the city, and they said the same thing in a different way. It's just an update on each one. We just put it together and we put it on a shelf, right? I've been trying to execute, all right? Now, coming back to let's come to the Brian Lara Promenade. I am doing work on the Brian Lara Promenade at this point in time, and we are in the planning stages. I just met, strangely enough, with last week with the central bank to take over a particular block, which is where they have the flags. I had a discussion with Unit Trust to take over where Brian Lara statue is, and we spoke about what is to be beautified there, and the other block in front of Unit Trust. I'm going down the line with the other companies, and I've been writing to them and trying to engage them in getting some assistance from corporate Trinidad in and around the Brian Lara Promenade. We used to have a very good plan and a trust that was looking after some of the areas there, and that fell through after a while because the corporate citizens that were some were paying, some was not paying, and everybody wants something nice, but nobody wants to come forward and pay for it. And that fell through. So we are now trying again with a different approach in getting it done. I have met with Ministry of Works and their architectural division and also traffic management. And for 2 years or 2.5 years, I have been trying to get them to beautify Broadway. We have gotten to the point where they have just sent me the documents. I've looked at it last week, and I'm taking it to council now so that they can approve it, so that we can start the beautification on Broadway. So it's work in progress also, and we have just the other day, Udicott and I painted all the benches, power wash. We have power wash Brian Lara Promenade on so many occasions, but you know what? It's an area that a lot of people traverse, and we have been doing a lot of work on it. We beautified it for Christmas with some lights, and we are now actually restoring the normal decorative lighting. The ones that TNTech was able to deal with. What I said at around Christmas time, I visited Lord Harris Square, Brian Lara Promenade, Memorial Park, not Adamson Square, Jackson Square, and a couple of other squares, and Victoria Square also, to identify that the squares, all the dark areas in the squares. We have adjusted that, and where TNTech had their lighting. The only lighting that we haven't really done yet is the corporation, what the corporation is responsible for, with all the globe lights. We are now working on it because the electrical on it is over 25 years, and we have to change out some of it because some of it is rotten or dry rotted and so on, and some of them have been vandalized and so on. So we are now working on that. I have some proposals for Tamron Square and Columbus Square, which is behind the cathedral. So we are doing things as we speak, but it is not easy to get corporate Trinidad to spend any money on assist us. But I am coercing them. It takes a long time to do these things, and it takes a lot of diligent work in getting it done. It doesn't, you don't wake up Sunday morning and it starts the work.
Okay. We have a question from a resident asking when next they'll be spraying for mosquitoes.
That would be the insect vector division. That is of the Ministry of Health. And we can write to them and ask them to do it. But usually we get that request from everywhere. And they do put out a program of which they spray for mosquitoes.
Okay. And okay, so we're gonna wrap up now. I know you said, I believe I heard it in one of the interviews that you were looking at September to start implementing this plan. With COVID happening, would you really be encouraging people to gather on the avenue?
Well, we were hoping that by September we would have been in a better position. But the thing about it is that people are on the avenue as we speak.
Yes,
The
but
thing
they're
is
not.
that it's not a matter of encouraging them to gather. What we're trying to do is to find the mechanism to be able to start beautifying the area, and when they're, you don't want to beautify the area when people are there. You want to beautify them while they're not there. So you want to be able to put things in place to be able to execute on it. You see, what it is too is that, as I told you at the beginning, I'm part of a group of people that meet on a 2-week basis, which is the various ministries, right? Each sector has something to say or something to do. And then what we do is after we meet, we start to talk about what can we execute between then and the next meeting. A lot of the execution is being requested by the as of the mayor to be done, because a lot of it is in my purview and it is in the as what you call low-hanging fruit, right? The infrastructure that UDCOT is going to do is major works in various areas, and I'll give you an example of one of the things that they waited to execute on is to move Despers from Tragreed Road and put them on George Street. But they have work to be done on George Street, which is the old Angostura compound. So they're working on that. Then they want to be able to issue the contract to start building the apartment building. So for the Tragreed Road property, and so that will take a few, maybe 1 or 2 years or 3 years before that is executed on. The Memorial Plaza, we haven't spoken at length on that yet, but we have spoken on Piccadilly, the Piccadilly event that's supposed to take place. They're quite pleased with what I have done on Charlotte Street with regard to Chinatown. What they'd like to see is for me to execute on the cobblestoning of the road. And but I have to get Duma, I have to have a conversation with Duma, which I'm going to speak to them tomorrow and set up a meeting so that we could start talking about it. There is a lot of pushback there too, because as I said, people who have operated in a space for 30, 40 years don't want to change or don't want to see change, or they want change somewhere else. So they say, well, why do Charlotte Street? Why don't try Henry? Why don't try George? Why don't try somewhere else? So everywhere, everybody wants you to do something else somewhere else, And well, if you get to somewhere else and they don't want it done, then we'll never fix Port of Spain, and we will never fix Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. A resident is asking if the corporation has ever considered getting street sweepers, the machines to clean the streets.
We don't have the financial resources at this time to consider it, but it's something that we have spoken about and we have thought of. The other thing is, if we could afford it, fine, but we can't afford it at this time. As a matter of fact, if you only know some of the dilemmas that we have to encounter with regard to getting that whole transport system going, it is unbelievable. But we do we do it, and we get it done on a shoestring budget sometimes.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap up now. And like I said at the beginning of this meeting, we, the residents, want to be involved. We understand that things are not going to stay the same and things have to change, but we want to see the improvements and we want to be a part of that change, and we want to be considered and we want to be respected. So
Okay.
I would like to take some of the pressure off of you for our follow-up meeting next month. We would like to have a follow-up meeting with you and as well as some of the other stakeholders that'll be involved in the decision making.
So let me say something before you close off. I am glad that we have had this meeting. I would like to see some form of correspondence that would come from you, creating the collaboration so that we could continue to engage as we go along. And this first meeting would have taken a while before it happened. Let's continue to have, let's have a meeting every month or every 2 months to be able to get it done, right?
We're gonna hold you to that one.
Yeah, okay?
So yes.
No, if it's one thing I will tell you, I really don't have a problem meeting with anybody, all right? And if this is the medium that you all prefer, I am happy. If you all want to see me in person, where you could hit me with a stick and beat me up, I good with that too, right? The thing about it is that
people.
No, I just teasing here, right? No, the thing about it is that I apologize for this not happening before, right? The thing about it is that we all want change, and we all want positive change. So if if I could be part of the process and you be part of the process and we all do it together, I think we will have a wonderful space at the end of the day.
Could not agree more. So we will be in touch with you to have a follow-up meeting sometime next month. And again, we would like to include the National Security, EMA, the Health Department, Tourism, just so we could be a part of this, because we really want to be a part moving forward, because we are Woodbrook and we want the best for Woodbrook.
Good.
We also
I would also want to, if I can invite the members of Parliament to join us on the chat. I will also try and see if I can engage them. You know how they are super busy, but nothing is impossible.
Yes, because we live here too. We want to see it prosper, and we are willing to work with anyone who's willing to work with us.
Right. One of the things that you could do actually is look at the things that what can easily change now.
Audio's cutting out.
And then move into, so start with the easy, low hanging fruit, and then move into the more difficult things as we go along. And but we know that we keep our eye on the ball.
Right.
Fair enough.
We will do our part to make sure the focus remains on that ball.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship, for joining us and taking the time out of your day to talk to us on this matter. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next month. We will be in touch with a date and time.
Good, excellent. Have a pleasant afternoon, all, and may God bless all of you. And let's be positive about everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Waddle, for moderating.